Okay, well, here we are again. Welcome to Motorbike Savage, and despite the terrible weather we're experiencing today, I thought it only right that we should do a bit more exploring today on the Bolt. Days off don't come around that often, and despite the terrible weather, we're out. So I hope you will be keeping well, and thank you very much for watching my my video, for those that have, and thank you very much for those who have also subscribed to my channel. It's greatly appreciated and very kind of you, so thank you very much for that. And just to welcome new viewers if you've never watched one of my videos before. Just a basic recap: I'm a returning biker, having not really ridden a bike in anger for 28 years. My choice after all that time is a Yamaha XV 950R, and I adore it. She is a handful, that is without doubt. She's not a sports bike or, you know, that type of highly engineered bike. This is a bike sort of in many ways like how they used to make bikes back in the good old bad old days, but with a few modern provisions added to it, like a digital dash, which again is not to everyone's liking. I myself have never had an issue with it. Even on today, it's covered in water, a dull miserable day, but I can still see it fine. So basically my experiences with this bike since I've had it have been pretty much all positive. I was trying to think earlier today. I've seen people, when they sort of think of the 5 things they love about their bike, the 5 things they hate about their bike. I think looking on the forums about this bike, there seems to be one sort of continuing theme. Well, one of two really. One is the searching for a 6th gear. I can't deny when I first had this bike, whether it was down to my inexperience or lack of knowledge, but I found myself regularly going through the gearbox, coming up to what I thought was 5th with a 6th gear, only to find that I was trying to change up to a gear that didn't exist. Now, I have joined a few forums about the Yamaha Bolt, and it does come up quite frequently, people trying to reach for the 5th gear. Now, I don't know if it's because how this bike is geared, whether it doesn't quite know what it is, whether it's a cruiser or whether it's a, you know, a bobber with a turn of speed lower down in the rev range. But it takes a little bit of getting used to. There's obviously no rev counter on this, no gear selector indicator. So I guess it's like anything, you have to get used to the sound of the engine, the sound of the revs, and listening to that and adjusting and trying to sort of memorize rather where you are in the rev range, where you are with your gears. But I guess like anything, if you keep, you know, you get used to it. It's like if you're on a different vehicle, every car I suppose drives slightly differently than the other. Same no doubt with a motorbike, but I suppose if that was my only main criticism, would be maybe slightly different gearing. I'm not an expert on any of these things by any stretch of the imagination, but whether gearing would make it longer between the gear changes, and therefore the the sixth gear wouldn't really be quite as important to have, but who knows. 2020 next year. I've yet to see some specs for any changes to the 2020 XV950R. Whether a sixth gear would be one of those changes, we'll have to wait and see. The other thing that you do hear a lot on forums is the death wobble. Now, I haven't really experienced what I would call a death wobble. Slight wobble under deceleration, and that's if you take your hands off the bars. Now, a conversation I've had with a few people is, well, why while riding a motorbike would you take your hands off the handlebars? But you know, I guess it's just one of those cool things we like to sort of, you know, when you had a bicycle you probably rode it with no hands, and yeah, I wouldn't suggest you ride along a motorbike at any high speed without your hands on the handlebars, but I think if you're cruising along, maybe one hand on the tank, but it's probably a common thing. Again, I'm not entirely sure. Deceleration, I don't know if you can see, bit of a wobble, wobble. Give it the beans again. Wobble. Now, people have said if you change the tyres on it, or if you get the steering bearings changed, it cures that. It is a little bit surprising that a bike might have this foible, whatever you want to call it, but I guess many bikes have their characteristics, some good, some bad. You've only got to look at any review on a bike. There are always positives and negatives. I suppose the only slight surprise is obviously it's a handling issue, and therefore a safety issue as well. But I suppose if you keep both hands on the steering wheel, keep both hands on the handlebars, then it's never really going to be an issue. But obviously on a slippery day like this, you don't really want to be taking any chances. So today I shall be keeping both hands predominantly on the handlebars. I must confess, as a returning biker, I'm still a little bit untrustworthy, perhaps, of the stock tyres that this bike came with. You know, at the end of the day, it's a cruiser style motorbike. It's not really built for, you know, twisty roads necessarily, or slippery twisty roads. Maybe that's just my inexperience as a returner rider. I just hope every time I go out I'm learning some new skills as a horse, and I suppose with every slightly slippery corner where your heart sort of goes in your mouth, you're learning to take a slightly different angle in next time, and hopefully not having too many big mistakes that's going to involve me actually coming off the bike, which is obviously my biggest dread. Anyway, so a bit more, I suppose, a bit of my travel log really. This is where are we going now? Coltishall. Yeah, so this is Horsted one side of the bridge, Coltishall the other. Very nice pub, recruiting sergeant, and do very nice food if you fancy coming down. And we're just going to go over the bridge now into Coltishall, and you can see that there's a part of the Norfolk Broads that runs along by the side of the road in Coltishall, and there's a few nice pubs there, so we'll just go and have a quick look there, and have a quick nose around in Coltishall. So down here are a few pubs, so I think we might just pull in here, have a little look, see what's going on. Okay, so that was Coltishall, and I thought I'd take you to a place called Wroxham next, which is also on the Norfolk Broads. It's kind of the next place up the road, and while we've still got a break in the weather, I thought it best to continue. These back roads are pretty greasy, muddy. As you can see, it's definitely countryside around here, so I'm still taking it pretty easy. So getting back to this bike, we were talking about the speed wobbles and the sixth gear, or lack of. If I'm honest, I'm really kind of hard pushed to think of any more faults with this bike. I mean, you know, it's not a racing bike. You're not going to break any world speed records on it. For me, I just needed something to try and get my road skills back up after 28 years off, and hopefully something that wasn't going to, you know, kill me in the process, or at least get me into serious danger. I overheard someone talking the other day saying as soon as you pass your test you should get on the biggest bike that you can handle, because that's the best way to, you know, to either get over your fears or just get used to a big bike. I'm not entirely sure that I agree with that. I think you need to push yourself a little bit. We'll have our comfort zone, and I guess we could all ride around on a 125 for the rest of our days quite merrily. But I think it does us good to push ourselves a little bit, and maybe in that respect you learn just that little bit quicker, because you are having to be extra alert, extra attentive to your riding. So but anyway, we're just about to enter Wroxham, which is another little town on the Norfolk Broads, and there's a few sort of boatyards and a very famous store, Roy's of Wroxham, which seems to own pretty much every shop in Wroxham. Seems to have a connection with Roy's. So it's been a very popular store for many years, and Wroxham has sort of pretty much been the epicenter of the Norfolk Broads for a very long time. And so we're going to have to do a little double back, because as many roads in Norwich, or Norfolk rather, it has its unique one-way system, which I should have remembered how it goes, but I didn't. Past the boys in blue, so we better not rev the producers off that. There's a nice little white car. So now we can go back into Wroxham proper. have a little look, sort of place it is, and well, it's a bit wet and miserable today. This place is normally thronging with tourists during the summer months, and it's the bridge. Well, look, see if we can see anything. Plenty of boats over there, so I think we might just pull in and see what we can see. Okay, so that's Wroxham. Not the biggest stopover we've ever done at a place, but I think today the weather's not brilliant and we don't want to hang around too long. Rat rat, says the dog. So we're just going to have a little ride into Norwich, I think now. We may be taking part of the notorious NDR, which is a very fast road that about every 2 miles has a roundabout in the middle of it, which has led to some interesting driving. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge as and when. So anyway, back to the bike. Things that I don't like about it. Well, as I said, there's not a great deal. Weather protection doesn't bother me. Bigger tank possibly would be nicer, although like I said before, who wants to do 300 miles without getting off a bike, unless you're crossing the Gobi Desert, and if you stop you'll die of thirst or whatever, then yes, maybe I would want, but so the best things about this bike, well, it certainly gets attention from passers-by. I have people stop and ask me what it is, compliment me, what a lovely bike you've got there, mate, which is, you know, very nice. It's not the reason I got the bike really, but I class it as beautiful. Well, they say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I suppose if you look at it next to something like a Ducati Panigale, it would certainly look like its ugly sister. But personally, I like it, and it's been a good bike to return to. And I suppose really what my thoughts are is that if you are a returning biker and you think that you always wanted that sort of Harley bike, never really had it, think that you are unable to manage such a big bike, I think the best thing to do is try some out. I can't deny I was pretty nervous the first time I took this bike out, and but they are surprisingly tame. It's not an out-and-out racer. I think it is more forgiving, perhaps, than say a sport bike, or you know, a naked bike maybe even. Although a lot of returners do go back to naked bikes. My experience with the MT-07, which I was so sure I was going to get as my I've been thinking about that bike recently, and I think maybe I should, now I've had a few sort of a few months riding now, I'm just wondering if perhaps that would make me see that bike in a different light. Perhaps what I saw is its shortcomings I might appreciate in a slightly different way. But who knows? So if there's a chance I can get my hands on one in the next few months, I'm going to try and take one out, and or perhaps we'll give it a second bite of the cherry. And also as well, if you want to leave some comments in the comment section, please feel to. Maybe you've got a story to tell me about your own experiences as a returning biker, your recommendations, your experiences, good and bad, and possibly what you'd like to see me test in the future. I'm hoping that I will be able to get my hands on some different bikes and different types of bike, which for me will be a new experience. Because like I said, my riding career has been pretty minimal really up until getting this bike. The last bike I had was probably 28 years ago, a Honda CB404, and I think I had a bike before was an RD125 twin. Anyway, here we go on the lovely old NDR. Let's hope we survive. Trying to figure out what the hell is going on with this part of the road. Isn't anybody really entirely sure what the hell is going on here? Least of all me. A47, so we need to be in this lane. And this weather doesn't really look like it's getting considerably better anytime soon, but at least we're out, we're not confined to base. Okay, so now a 47. the boys in blue. Okay, so this is a bit of Norwich here. So we're going into part of Norwich called Cringleford and Eton. So we'll just have a quick burn around here, see how many of the locals we can annoy. Okay, so sun's starting to get a little bit low in the sky now, but at least it's sun. So here we was. So this is Cringleford, and Cringleford then leads into Eton. And I think we'll just have a little drive into Norwich now to conclude our little ride out today. I hope you've been able to sort of gather some more information about this bike, whether it's appropriate for you as a returner's motorcycle. And that you've enjoyed coming for a little ride around Norfolk with me today. Just try to make it sort of interesting, places that we go, and just show you a bit about where I live. So this is Eton, which I suppose is kind of a nice area of Norwich. It has a Waitrose. That kind of says it already, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up now. So I hope you've enjoyed today's little outing. I hope you've learned a bit more about the Yamaha XV950R, the Yamaha Bolt as it's known as in America. It has been a bit of a miserable old day, but at least we did something, and that's always good. So we're just coming into Norwich. Traffic's a little thick for a Sunday, I suppose. So, if we think about the best things about this bolt, is people say nice things about it. It's a little bit different. There aren't really that many about. I suppose the Harley Davidson is more common on the road, but some people feel that's a bit of a cliche. Personally, I don't have a problem with it either way. Get whatever bike you like, and if you can, get the bike you've dreamed of, or at least make a start at doing that. Don't be afraid of coming back to motorbiking. Believe me, if I can do it after 28 years, and I am far from anything special or outstanding when it comes to motorbikes, if I can do it, then you can do it. So why not do what I did, get a refresher course, brush up on your skills, and enjoy your new pastime. Make some friends, and hopefully enjoy your time. Anyway, that's enough for me. So it's Motorbike Savage, and take care guys and girls, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.